Hello children, I believe we are all going good. This belief, this faith gives me continuous inspiration for you all to think of my lectures, to improve my lectures, to create more interactive lectures for you. Only this belief. I know my children are going good. They are blessed. They are the blessed ones, my dear children. So today we are going to learn about a very important topic, that is literary devices. Literary devices are very important because they will help you to improve your understanding skills, your writing skills and also your expressions in English. Right? So what are we going to learn today? We are going to learn literary devices. I am saying that we will be learning because I know whatever we have learned about literary devices last year, you people have forgotten. I have done this before also, and so it will be again a learning for us. And those of you who happen to remember, this will be an additional information for you to build up more confidence in your literary devices, understanding, then identifying, and obviously whenever you are asked, you will be confident about it, that this is the literary device that is used here, right? So we are going to start and we are going to see what are we going to learn about literary devices today. The first thing we are going to learn is what is a literary device. Right? This is what we are going to learn first. Right? The second thing we are going to learn is types of literary devices, right? And the third one, we are going to learn identifying the various literary devices. So, we are going to learn what is a literary device, types of literary devices, and identify the various literary devices in a prose or in a poem. Right? So, we begin, and there are 9 important ones that I am going to do with you today, and let us see like how we are going to identify what all types are there and how confident we are at the end of the lecture, at the end of the lesson, right? Stay tuned and pay attention. Keep your notebooks handy because we might need them to write down something if we have to. So, here we go. So, children, literary devices, they are interesting when you read and useful when you write. Literary devices are figures of speech, or it is a figure of speech that is a rhetorical device. What is a meaning of rhetorical device? Means it is a literature or language device that achieves a special effect by using words in a very distinctive way, in a particular way. I have to use the word. Right? And so, special effects, when we edit something, your picture is there, my picture is there. Okay? In the album. Now, I want to add special effects to my picture so that my picture looks like a young teenager. That time, what will I do? Some kind of editing we will be doing so that my picture, Yasoma ma'am, looks like a young teenager. So like that, it achieves a special effect when we use rhetorical device or literary device. Now let us see what are they. Language that has the meaning beyond literal meaning, also known as figures of speech. Literary devices are also known as figurative language because when you look at that particular word or that particular line, it will obviously not carry the simple meaning of that line. It will have some more meaning to that line. And what is that meaning? You have to find it out. And that is the way we identify and we appreciate literary devices. Right? Let us see what is waiting for us. Simile. Simile is an expression comparing one thing to another by using the words like or as. Again and again, I keep on reminding you, keep on telling you, children, this is a simile, this is a simile. Again and again, you people, my innocent ones, keep on forgetting. Ma'am, we have forgotten. Ma'am. So, it is an expression, now it is here in front of you, all in bold. Using the words like or as. Examples, he ran like a cat, lightly and quietly. So, you can see my dog is as smelly as dirty socks. These are all examples of simile using like and or as. Like or as. Her blue mood. What is the meaning of blue mood? Blue mood, any idea? Sad mood. Her sad mood or her blue mood passed as quickly as an afternoon rain shower. So, again, as is used in the previous example or previous sentence, we have used like. So, like and as, whenever we are using, it is an example of simile. Now, metaphor. It is again a comparison. Metaphor is again a comparison of two unlike things. Again, children, I'm reminding you, without using the words like or as. Right? Without using the words like or as. Like, example, he was a statue waiting to hear the news. So, he was a statue. It is obviously compared to a statue. That noun is compared to a statue. So he was a statue waiting to hear the news. So here you can see a comparison but without using like or as. She was a mother hen trying to take care of everyone around her. She was a mother hen. Like supposing now you can say your Soma ma'am is a mother hen trying to take care of everyone around her. Though I wish I am not doing like that. But anyway, for your light smile, I am sharing. So you can think that she was a mother hen. Like the person is being compared to a mother hen trying to take care of everyone around her. Now in the examples, your friend George is just a big baby. See, metaphors. You are my guardian angel. Johnny's mouth is one huge metal factory. His students are puppets on a string. So everywhere comparison is made without using like or as. Yes, moving on. Hyperbole is an obvious exaggeration or overstatement. Hyperbole is exaggeration or overstatement. I am so hungry, I could eat a horse. Can you ever become so hungry that you can eat a horse or an elephant? No. So when you are exaggerating, when we are oversaying something, right? So that time we are using hyperbole. Like supposing another example we can consider that I have told you 1,000,000 times that you are not going to do this again and again. So can anybody tell anybody 1,000,000 times? It is not possible. But exaggeration, whenever we are oversaying something, taking it to a big extent, that time it is hyperbole. Right. Personification, this I believe many of us know. is when a writer gives human qualities to animals or objects. Personification, when we are attaching any human quality to animals or objects. Like, my car drank the gasoline in one gulp. Drank. Can a car drink? No. But human beings drink. So it is like attaching the quality of the human being to the object. My car drank. So this is personification. Next one, the cat laughed. Can a cat laugh? No. So attaching human quality to the animal. So whenever we are attaching any human quality, it is known as personification. The newspaper headline glared at me. What is the meaning of glaring? Glaring means staring. So newspaper headline glared at me. So can any newspaper headline stare at you? No. So anything with a description or with an attachment of human quality is known as personification, personification. Right? We are moving on. I hope you're liking the chapter. Onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia is a word that imitates the sound it represents. Onomatopoeia is a very sound word. It is absolutely bam, boom, click, tick, tock. All these sound words are attached to onomatopoeia. So it is a sound word. Examples: crunch, zap, tick, tock, whoosh, boom, bong, tap, tap, tap. So anytime, whenever we are attaching any word, anytime whenever I am using any sound word, I am using onomatopoeia. Anytime whenever we are using any kind of sound word, that is an example of onomatopoeia, right? And in imagery, the writer tries to bring out any one of the five senses, that is seeing, tasting, hearing, smelling and touching. Any one the writer will try to bring out in his writing. Examples: the smell reminded him of rotting tomatoes. That is, the smell is being brought out here. The fence was uneven. Uneven in the sense going up and down like baby teeth growing awkwardly in. In both these sentences, you can imagine the sensation of smell, the sensation of seeing. In the first sentence, we get the sensation of smell of rotting tomatoes. In the second sentence, we get the sensation of seeing a fence or a border or a boundary of a house or a building that goes up and down. Uneven means going up and down like baby teeth growing awkwardly in, like baby teeth, going up and down, and like that the fence was growing. The fence was there, right? And it is also a part of simile because we are using like out there. So we can imagine the sensation of smell and the sensation of seeing a fence that was uneven. We are moving on. So here in imagery, there is nothing much to understand. Only you have to understand that the writer tries to bring out any sensation of our five senses. We are moving on. Foreshadowing, I will not do it now. Alliteration, we have already done last year, but still a repetition of alliteration. I am alliterating my lecture. Repetition of same consonant sound in words occurring near one another. All of us are more or less confident with alliteration. So this is an example. Many examples are there. Peter Piper pecked a peck of pickled paper. Sally sells seashells by the seashore. Last year we had done tongue twisters like this. So I'm going to save this in my memory and we are going to play like this. Play with these tongue twisters also. They are a part of alliteration and they will be our tongue twisters also. On our live classes, we will be playing and let us see how fast we can repeat or how fast we can say the lines. Come on, let's move. Allusion, we are not going to do right now. We are going to keep allusion for later. Paradox also we are not going to do. Symbolism, no. Idioms, no. Oxymoron is very important. Oxymoron, two opposite terms. I have also discussed this in the last year and I have told you. Idiom, yes, we need to cover this. Idiom is an expression with meaning different from the literal meaning of the words. Literal meaning means the actual meaning. The idiom actually holds deeper meaning much beyond than what you are reading. Examples: I got cold feet before my speech. It is not the sensation of cold feeling, but the feeling of scare or like feeling of fright. you are feeling or somebody is feeling, when somebody is feeling very scared, feeling of scare, that kind of feeling is expressed as cold feet. My boss gave me the green light. Green light is not showing you the green light or a traffic light you're thinking in front of you, but approval, giving you the nod. Draw the curtains. It is not drawing the curtain, but to close, to pull the curtains. Put the lights out. Turn off the lights. It is not putting the lights here and there, but turning off the lights, right? We move on. Oxymoron. Oxymoron is also a very good and a very important example of figure of speech whenever we are trying to put two opposite terms together. Last year I had given you enough examples of oxymoron. If you happen to remember, we had discussed many examples like she was walking around like living dead. Living is life itself and dead is death. So, living, dead, two opposite ideas are compared and contrasted together. So, similarly, here also we find a peaceful war. War can never be peaceful. Dark sunshine. Sunshine can never be dark. Tragic comedy and so on. So, oxymoron are those examples or those figures of speech that puts two ideas or rather two opposite ideas together, right? We are moving on with euphemism. No, not this time. Cliche also not this time, and that is all. So I hope you have understood the lecture, and whatever doubts you have, I believe that you have made a note of them and we can clear your doubts in our next session. Before I begin, you can let me know whatever your doubts are, and so that we can clear the doubts before we begin the next session, right? And that is all. We look forward to some kind of assignments also. So it will give you a better hold over your writing skill and the confidence in your figure of speech, right? That's all. Wish you a good day and stay safe, stay healthy.